Still tired? You've been lied to. You could sleep for 12 hours and still wake up drained, not physically, but like something inside you never shuts off. And no one can tell, because on the outside, you look fine, but you know something's wrong. You're not just tired, you're running from something. And the real question isn't, how do I rest? It's, why does rest never work on me? You're exhausted, not from work, not from some long day on your feet, but from the pressure of constantly needing to be on. The invisible performance you give every time you smile when you're hurting, every time you say, I'm fine, when you're anything but. It's not the tasks that drain you, it's the pretending, the holding it all together, the fear that if you stop, even for a second, it'll all fall apart. And no one sees it. No one sees the emotional weight you carry just to make it through a normal day. You show up, you smile, you answer texts, you nod along in conversations like you're there. But inside, you're somewhere else, distant, flat, like a version of you is watching your life from the outside, wondering how it all got so heavy. It's not laziness, it's not a lack of discipline, it's depletion, the kind that doesn't show up on blood tests, the kind that comes from constantly scanning the world for expectations, measuring yourself against them, and never feeling like you're enough. And the worst part? You don't know how to explain it. You can't point to a single event. There's no dramatic breakdown. Just this slow erosion of your energy, your joy, your sense of self. You rest, but you don't recharge. You sleep, but you don't wake up feeling restored. You take breaks, go on walks, journal, meditate, but still the fog lingers. And it makes you wonder if something's wrong with you. Why does everyone else seem to bounce back so easily? Why does peace feel like something you have to earn but never actually receive? You start to question everything, your habits, your mindset, your body, your choices. But deep down, you sense it's none of that. It's something older, quieter, a tension that's been building for years, maybe decades. The kind of tired that doesn't come from doing too much, but from being too much for too long. So if you're sitting there confused by your own fatigue, if you've ever whispered to yourself, why do I feel like this when I haven't even done anything today? You're not broken, you're not weak, you're not failing. You're just carrying too much of what was never meant to be yours. And your body, your mind, your spirit, they're finally asking you to listen. Here's what most people get wrong. They think you're just tired because you're doing too much. That if you could just rest harder, be more efficient, fix your sleep schedule, everything would click into place. But deep down, you already know that's not the problem. Because the exhaustion you're feeling, it's not coming from your calendar. It's coming from your identity. From the version of you that feels like they have to constantly manage the expectations of the world. Quietly, perfectly, without slipping. This isn't physical burnout. This is emotional survival mode. You're tired because your nervous system is stuck in a loop, always slightly bracing, always slightly performing. Even in rest, you're anticipating, what needs my attention next? Even in silence, you're narrating, second-guessing, overthinking. There's no off switch because you never feel safe enough to fully let go. You're not lazy. You're not weak. You're just exhausted from being hyper-aware all the time. Hyper-aware of how you're perceived. Hyper-aware of not falling behind. Hyper-aware of your own inner critic whispering that rest is only okay if you've earned it. And the truth is, you've been tired for a long time. But it's a slow kind of tired. The kind that creeps in and makes you feel like you're always slightly behind, slightly off, slightly disconnected from life. You scroll for hours, but nothing lands. You talk to people, but it feels like you're playing a character. You take breaks, but they feel more like a pause than actual relief. Because the real problem isn't that you're doing too much. It's that you're carrying too many identities that don't belong to you. The overachiever, the peacemaker, the strong one, the one who doesn't complain, the one who's always fine, the one who handles it, the one who never needs help. Each role you've had to play at some point kept you safe. Maybe it got you love, or maybe it helped you avoid conflict. But now those roles are weighing you down. You're not just tired, you're tired of the mask. You're tired of doing what you're supposed to do, living how you're supposed to live, resting only when it's justifiable. Not because you're allowed to, but because you've hit a wall. And maybe if you're being honest, there's a deeper fear behind all this. What if I stop performing and everything falls apart? What if people see the real me, the messy, uncertain, emotionally scrambled version, and walk away? So you keep performing, even in your rest, even in your healing. You meditate correctly, you rest efficiently, you try to relax the right way, but you never actually let yourself be, because being means not proving, and you've spent so long building your worth on performance, you forgot what it feels like to just exist. That's the real weight you're carrying. Not a to-do list, not exhaustion, but the belief that you have to earn your right to be at peace. And if you're someone who constantly swings between being on fire with productivity and then completely shut down, this is why. You're not inconsistent. You're not undisciplined. You're not broken. You're just terrified of being seen when you're not at your best. So your nervous system works like a light switch, all in or all out, because the middle, being present, vulnerable, soft, feels unsafe. Let that land for a second. You're not tired from life. You're tired from the version of you you've had to keep alive just to survive it. You rest, but your identity doesn't, and that's what's bleeding you dry. The good news? Once you see this, really see it, it starts to shift, not overnight, not with a checklist, but with awareness, with a kind of quiet internal rebellion against the version of you that thinks being enough has to be earned. You don't need to be fixed. You just need permission to stop performing. That's when rest starts to feel like rest again. Not escape, not avoidance, but a soft returning to yourself. Here's the thing most of us never learned growing up. Your body and mind aren't just reacting to the present. They're replaying the past. That constant tiredness you feel, the mental fog, the emotional burnout that never fully lifts, it's not just random. It's your nervous system sending signals that it's been in survival mode for far too long. And the wild part is you can be in survival without even realizing it. You can smile, laugh, go to work, reply to texts, and still be stuck in a state your body learned years ago where safety was never guaranteed. Let's start with something Alfred Adler talked about. Identity, Colson. According to Adler, we build our entire sense of self around a goal we think will protect us. For some, that goal is being strong. For others, it's being perfect, being needed, or being unproblematic. Whatever it is, we unconsciously organize our whole life to serve that goal. Even our emotions follow the script. So if your identity goal has always been, I have to be the reliable one, then your nervous system is going to interpret rest as a threat, not because rest is bad, but because it puts that identity at risk. What happens if you stop being useful? What happens if someone sees you soft, quiet, undone? That's where nervous system states come in. There are 3 basic states your body flips between: fight or flight, high alert; freeze, shut down; and safe, social, regulated. You probably know what fight or flight feels like. Racing thoughts, clenched muscles, urgency to do something. But freeze is sneakier. It looks like tiredness. It feels like fog. It's that numbness that settles in when your system says, I can't fight this and I can't run, so I'll just go still. A lot of us confuse that freeze state with laziness or depression. But it's really just a survival pattern, a leftover setting from moments in your life when shutting down was safer than being fully present. Think about childhood. Maybe emotions weren't safe. Maybe chaos was normal. Maybe being quiet, useful, or invisible helped you stay out of the line of fire. Your body remembered that, and now, even years later, it still plays by those rules, especially when you slow down. That's emotional memory. It doesn't come in words or flashbacks. It comes in patterns. The heaviness you feel when you finally have space, the irritability when things get quiet, the sudden exhaustion right before you were supposed to enjoy your free time. It's your system saying, I don't know what to do with rest. I've never trusted it. And here's where survival wiring gets tricky. It doesn't care if a pattern makes you happy only if it keeps you safe. So if your nervous system thinks always being on guard is what keeps you loved, accepted, or in control, then even your rest will be laced with tension. That's why you can sleep all weekend and still wake up with dread. Why you can take a vacation and feel just as anxious. Because your system isn't convinced it's safe to let go. But the moment you stop trying to fix the tiredness like it's a productivity problem and start listening to it like it's a message from your inner world, that's when things start to shift. Not because you've hacked your routine, but because you've started healing the story that told you rest had to be earned in the first place. This isn't about managing time better. It's about learning what your body has been trying to say for years. I'm not tired because I'm broken. I'm tired because I've been surviving in silence. Imagine a phone that never truly turns off. You hit the power button. The screen goes black, but deep in the circuitry, the system is still running, syncing, updating, scanning for signals. From the outside, it looks like rest, but internally, it's still working. Quietly, constantly, slowly draining itself. That's you. You lie in bed, you cancel plans, you take the weekend off. But inside, you're still alert, still watching, still preparing for the next emotional interruption. The next thing to fix, the next version of you the world might need. And like that phone, no matter how long you rest, you never really power down. You only dim, because you were wired to stay ready, ready to be useful, ready to be good, ready to be who they need, not who you are. That's what this exhaustion is. It's not a lack of energy. It's a system that's never allowed to shut down, a heart that's never given silence without judgment, a mind that's never allowed to just be without needing a reason. And like a phone that stays on in your pocket for days, even when it's not in use, your energy drains in the background, not from doing too much, but from never feeling safe enough to stop. This isn't laziness. It's a lifetime of being on, of confusing hypervigilance with personality, of mistaking tension for responsibility. So if you feel like you're always running on low battery, maybe it's because no one ever taught you how to rest in a world that praised your performance more than your peace. Maybe you were never actually tired from life. Maybe you were just tired from who you thought you had to be to survive it. That changes everything, because if the exhaustion wasn't a flaw in you, if it was just the signal flare from a nervous system that's been protecting you this whole time, then what you're experiencing isn't brokenness. It's intelligence. It's love, twisted into armor. A kind of emotional endurance that learned early on to always stay on just in case. You weren't resisting rest. You were resisting what rest represented, stillness. And stillness meant hearing the things you spent years trying to silence. That quiet voice inside that says, I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of performing. I'm tired of never feeling like enough. And you've done such a good job keeping that voice quiet. But what if you didn't need to anymore? What if your healing doesn't come from doing more, but from unlearning the belief that peace must be earned? You don't need to hustle your way to worthiness. You don't need to earn silence with suffering. You don't need to justify being tired. The part of you that's asking for deep rest, not just sleep, but permission, isn't lazy. It's wise. It's the child version of you who never got to feel safe enough to stop. It's the teenager who had to be perfect to be loved. It's the adult who now flinches at softness because it feels unfamiliar. You don't need to fix that version of you. You need to forgive them because they were doing the best they could with what they had. They learned to cope, not because they were wrong, but because the world around them didn't know how to hold their tenderness. So maybe this isn't about becoming someone new. Maybe it's about returning to the version of you that never needed to prove anything. The one who knew how to rest not as escape, but as a right. You're not lazy. You're not weak. You're just finally safe enough to feel how much it's all cost you. And that is the beginning of real rest. Take a breath, not a deep, dramatic one. Just a simple inhale, like the kind you take when no one's watching. Let your shoulders drop, even just a little. Unclench your jaw. Notice your hands. Feel the weight of your body. Wherever you're sitting or lying, you are here. And that's already enough for today. You don't need to figure everything out right now. You don't need to solve your tiredness like a problem. You just need to notice it, without judgment, without rushing past it. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is let yourself feel what you have been running from. And then remind yourself that you're allowed to be here anyway, not as a project, not as a performance, just as a person. You've spent so long trying to stay ahead of your exhaustion, trying to outrun the guilt, the pressure, the fear of falling behind. But what if you're not behind at all? What if you're exactly where you need to be, in the only body you've ever had, doing your best with a heart that's still learning how to rest? Right now, in this moment, you are safe. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to not have the words. You are allowed to just exist. You are not a machine that needs recharging. You are a person who deserves gentleness. So if all you do today is listen to your body, soften your breath, and remember that your worth was never tied to your energy levels, that's more than enough. Stay here. Not forever, just for now. Just long enough to remember what it feels like to stop running. Which part of this felt like it was written for you? Was it the weight you carry when no one's looking? The way you can rest all weekend and still wake up feeling like you've run an emotional marathon? Or maybe it was the part where you realize you've been performing even in your quietest moments, managing yourself for other people, shaping your energy to be easier to love, easier to keep around. If even a sentence in this stirred something in you, hold on to it. Not like another thing to fix, like a thread you're finally allowed to follow back home. Because the truth is, most people won't see how deep your tiredness goes. They'll see your smile, your presence, the way you show up even when you have nothing left. They won't see how often you disappear into yourself, how long you've been disappearing. But I hope you do. I hope you recognize the difference between real rest and the kind of numbing we've been taught to call recovery. I hope you stop blaming your body for reacting to a world that never gave it safety. Because you were never tired because of your worth. You were tired because of your wiring, your story, your tenderness. And now that you've named it, something gets to shift. Maybe not today, but eventually. Something gets to slow down, quietly, without needing to explain itself. So if this found you at a time when you were starting to wonder if you were just too much or not enough or permanently off somehow, please know you're not alone, not even close. There are thousands of others listening just like you, pretending they're fine while quietly falling apart in private. And maybe you'll send this to one of them. Maybe you'll save it for the days where the tiredness gets so thick it feels like gravity. Or maybe you'll just sit here for another minute, breathing into the quiet and letting that be enough. You don't need to turn this into action. You don't need to change your whole life because of a video. Sometimes the most honest healing starts not with a plan, but with a pause. A moment where you stop trying to fix your tiredness and finally begin to listen to it. And if all you do is carry this with you, the knowing that you're not alone, not lazy, not broken, that's more than enough. Because you, exactly as you are already doing something brave, feeling what you were never allowed to before. And that's where real rest begins.